Okay, this is Walter Umland's alignment jigs. This is the one we're going to use for the wing, and we've got similar ones for adjusting the height of the stabilizer. These short ones. Start by pinning these together with the T-pin and the small hole at the end of it, and I've got my spot marked with the pin here in the back of the fuselage. Fuselage is jigged up, everything's square. We can remove that now. So first I laid these spacers against the fuselage along the spar, and I'll use the edge of the spar as my reference. My wing is installed in center. You can see the marks I made to align it roughly with the fuselage. And then I'm going to install these measuring jigs in the hole that I made in the fuselage. And now we'll square everything up, and I'll pick a hole that I like once I get the spacers squared up and the jig laid over it. Okay, I've installed the wing so the pencil marks along each side of the fuselage are showing, so we know the wing is the same length on each side. And I was having trouble with the tape holding these spacers in place, so I put a tiny drop of CA at the tip end of this one and just at the edge of the spar about halfway down to hold them in place. Now this wing cannot move back and forth, so we know we've got that direction secured. The next step is to take the two measuring sticks here and secure the wing so that it's not skewed from side to side. So here's how we're going to do that. We're going to align the wing along the trail edge with the square. You did build your trail edge straight, didn't you? Oh, by the way, don't forget to put your flap coupler in before you start this. Okay, the wing is square, assuming we don't bump it. Now I can lift this and move it until I can see through one of the holes, which I will drop a pin through, and I'll find the same hole configuration on that side and pin it, recheck with the square, and adjust as necessary. Okay, I've got the pin in this side and it's square to the fuselage, so we're going to make sure it stays square and put the pin in this side and be patient. It took me many tries off camera to get the right holes and the pin through. So we're going to double check our square here, and it is still square. And even though my pencil lines are not exactly as accurate as I hoped they would be, but that's why we have this jig. So we found a convenient hole, put the pin in, and let's see if the square is still good. And we are square on that side. And we are square on this side. So it's all in place. The next thing we're going to do is make sure that the wing is the same height on all four corners off of the glass. Okay, so I'll do that, get back with you. I learned that it takes too much fiddling with to do on camera, so best for me to do it off camera, then come back and show you. All right, thanks. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, now I've got the wing level from side to side, and I added shims on the right side. I don't know if you can see it through the camera. I had to stack some styrofoam, then some plywood, and then some thin cardboard, a little bit at a time, and finally got it. And now when I measure to the bottom of the top spar against the glass, and I measure to the spar because if I use the center line out here or the lead edge out here, if there was any unseen wing twist, that would throw us off. So I think if we get the spars straight, then that's probably as consistent as we can get. And if I measure this one, and believe me, I've been about a mile going back and forth, the bottom of the top spar is 150 millimeters from the glass. And I come around to this one, probably off camera, but I'm measuring to right here at the bottom of that spar, right as close to the end as I can get, and we are 150 millimeters from the glass there. Okay, so the wings level. The fuselage is level. And let's double check the fuselage to the wing square at the trail edge one more time. And it is square on that side. And it is square on this side. So the wing's as straight as it's going to get. We're ready to glue. Notice while I was off camera that there are more pins through the holes now. Since I had it located, I happened to look over the top of it and I could see light through several holes. I just went ahead and dropped a sewing pin through each one just to give me a little added security. But for the first hole to align it, I'd recommend using a T-pin because it's thicker and it'll allow less room for slop. I've got a T-pin back here, a T-pin at each location up there, and then I just added a little extra security with a few sewing pins through it. So what I'm going to do now is cut some tiny balsa shims and tap one in here and here and here and here, just a tiny, maybe 1/8 wide shim. I'll tell you exactly what I did when I come back. We're going to CA that in place. That way I can handle the wing to get the epoxy in it without knocking it out of position. All right, stand by for more. Thanks. Okay, now to tack the wing in place, I took 4 1/4 by 1/4 by 1/32 balsa shims and crushed the end of it to give it a wedge, and I put one in on each side of the trail edge right over the joint of the butt block, and I put one in right about here on the lead edge, and that's going to allow me, and I'll go ahead, this is the last one, I'll push it in place and tack it with thin CA. I don't use thin CA for much, but this will do the job, and a hypodermic needle works great with the thin CA bottles. You see I bumped the wing. I'm glad I had it CA'd already. When you get through with it, just wrap it, squeeze it, and get all the last of the glue out, and that hypodermic will last for the whole bottle. So I'm going to flow a little CA to soak into that 1/32. Make sure it's coming out. Yeah. There it went. And now the plan is to remove it from the jig and turn it sideways with the wingtips pointed up and down. I'll put it in my workmate, my Black & Decker workmate, so that I can lay it in straight like that. And on the side with the widest gap, there's a little bit wider gap on this side than the other side. I'm going to lay a line, a good line of epoxy along here, and then I'm going to take a heat gun and carefully, not get it too hot, flow it into that joint, and keep flowing it in until I see it emerge from this side onto the piece of tape that I have lining it. Then I'll stop, wipe it up, turn it horizontal, let it set, flip it over and do the other side. Okay, and she should be straight. I keep double checking it as I go along, and I did go back and check the trailing edge, and I was happy to find out that we have the same measurement on each side. We've got a 125 millimeters here, and 125 millimeters here, so that makes me happy. And I went and looked at the lead edge too, and the lead edge was exactly the same at each end. So all the way around, she's square, she's level, she's tight. We're going to put the epoxy in it, and hopefully before long we'll be flying it. All right, thanks for watching. Goodbye.